Welcome to another lecture on Mesilat Yesharim. We just finished chapter 127 of Rabbi Victor Miller's commentary, and we're on page 119, and there is one note that we have to read. We finished reading Mesilat Yesharim that says that if you study every situation, a person is put in the middle of a strong battle. And we said that every situation the person can use either to raise his level and to serve Hashem, or to lower his level and to bring himself down. So what is this strong battle? We are on page 179. This is a note that refers to page 119. It comes out that if you study the situation, he's actually put in the middle of a battle. From one of his lectures, Rabbi Victor Miller's, we quote, "We learn from Mesilat Yesharim that we are now, right now, in every moment of our life, in the middle of a battlefield, and we have on all sides of us, in front and in back, enemies who are fighting against us." Now, that may seem a poetic statement, and perhaps it might be considered overstated. But since we find exactly the same statement in the Chovot HaLevavot, then we have to think about it in more serious terms. The Chovot HaLevavot tells of soldiers who were returning from a campaign, from a battle. On the way back, they were greeted by a person who said, "Welcome, you have just returned from a small battle, and now you're going to face a more serious war." The soldiers said, "What more serious war is that? We just came from bloodshed, life and death. What are you saying?" And he said, "The more serious war is not the war against the enemies that you think you see. There are greater perils than fighting a battle with weapons. Now, al pi shnayim eidim yakum davar." So what the story is saying, that the battle with physical enemies is just the battle for physical survival. And just like in a video game, you die, you have another chance. The game is not over. You're given 3, 5, you have many lives. And so, fine, you fight a physical battle and you lose, your neshama goes out and it comes back in a different body. It's not a loss, not a big loss. However, to fight a spiritual battle, a moral battle, a battle where you have to make choices that affect your eternity, your spirituality, that is a more serious battle. And that's the battle he was preparing them for. Because if you lose that battle, the game is over. You might lose the entire Olam Haba. Now, he continues. Al pi shnayim eidim yakum davar. If you have two witnesses, you can believe them. Here we have two great ethical works of the Jewish people, Mesilat Yesharim and Chovot HaLevavot, and they're both saying that the world is a battlefield. Mesilat Yesharim and the Chovot HaLevavot are authorities. They are not people who are careless with their words, which means that life is a constant campaign, not only for your self-preservation, but a campaign in order to go ahead and carry out your purposes. And you're going to find opponents that are going to put up opposition that sometimes imperils you, chas v'shalom. And these are things that you don't see and you may never be aware of all your life. As the Talmud says, that if somebody knows that there are two paths to his destination, and one of them leads next to a improperly dressed women, and one is clean, and he says, which path should I choose? And he says, I'm going to go on the path that has improperly dressed women, and I'm going to force myself not to look. Which means he's choosing to be tested, and he passes the test. He goes and he doesn't look. And the Talmud says that he is a sinner because he treated opportunity to fall and sin lightly. He took a chance. He knew there is a possibility that he will fail, and he said, I will take that path. And even though there is a chance that I will fall, it's okay, it's just a small test. If I fail, it's not a big deal. So he actually failed a much greater test. Will he be careful to protect his soul and therefore choose a clean path without any tests? Or will he put himself in danger? And he actually misidentified the test. He thought that the test is to go and not look. And the test was don't go at all. When we have a choice to stay away from danger or to go through a dangerous situation and be careful, the smarter thing would be to avoid danger entirely. For example, if you are an electric and you're working with live wires and you have a choice, you can either go to the basement and shut off the electricity on the electric panel and know for sure there is no electricity and work safely, or you say, I know what I'm doing, I'm going to be careful. I know there are two wires, and if I touch both at the same time, I'm going to get shocked. But I'm going to be careful. I'm smart. I'm going to avoid. And I'm going to work carefully here, and I'm going to work carefully, and I'm not going to touch them at the same time. So we'll say he is foolish. We're not going to hire him. He is unsafe, and he's going to fail the inspection. If somebody sees, they're going to take away his license. You are a fool. What are you doing? Don't play around with dangerous things. So the same thing is life. If you know that a certain situation is dangerous, avoid it entirely. Don't say, I'm going to go and survive. Don't go. So we have to know that we're in the middle of a strong battle. And number one, we have to identify the enemy. Like he said, we might live our whole life and not even know that enemies are all around us. Now we go to chapter 1.28. The battle. This world is not a place where we sit quietly with nothing disturbing around us. We don't live in a monastery. We don't live in somewhere on a mountain where we don't interact with people. Life is not easy. And if we look at our sages, our leaders, we think from a side that their life is a piece of cake. We see them dressed honorably, surrounded by their students, and they're given honor. And we say, such a good life, such an easy life. They just do the right thing, and they just teach, and they pray. But if we learn their biography, we will see that no one became a gadol, no one became a great man in an easy way. You cannot become a great man easily. You have to fight. You have to struggle. The world is not a place where we sit quietly with nothing disturbing us. The whole world is always in tumult around us. We're constantly surrounded by war on all sides. Internal war and external war. All the affairs of this world are tests for men. That is an important fundamental key to the world. It's a key to understand what transpires in our lives, and it unlocks the mysteries of history, of why things happened the way they did. Sometimes we look at political events and we think, oh, he said it, this minister said it, this president said it, and it just happened like this. But in fact, each one of them was put in a test, and often they failed the test. And often Hashem leads the history on a path to create more tests for people. The Russian Revolution happened in order to give many Jews in Russia and around the world a choice to stay with Judaism or not. Communists came to give further tests to people. Now socialists are coming, and everything that is happening, everything on the political scene is a test for every Jew to decide, I'm going to stand on the side of good, or chas v'shalom, I'm going to join the evil side, chas v'shalom. If everything that happens in the world not only tells us the purpose of life, but also how to react to all the phenomena of life. How to react to people, objects, and nature. Everything in life is given to us for the purpose that we should be tested thereby. And the way we act is the success of our test, or otherwise. The battle is in front and in back. On all sides we're being attacked. That deserves our attention for a moment. There is no such thing as security or tranquility in any circumstance. Even if you had a big challenge and you strengthened yourself in emunah and you relied on Hashem and you prayed and you saw God's salvation, you saw that Hashem led you through difficulty and He helped you, and now you breathe sigh of relief and say, oh, now I can live peacefully. No such thing. Just because you passed one test, it's a sign. Be ready for a bigger test, more challenge, more tumult in life. If one passes from a state of happiness into a state of trouble, God forbid, he should know that really everything is the same. Life continues precisely with the same purpose, which is responding to tests. Until now, your test was, how will you act in times of happiness? Now your test is, how will you act in times of trouble? Then how will you act in different times of wealth, times of poverty, chas v'shalom, times of health, times of sickness. Every moment is a test. Whether a friend comes to visit you or an enemy comes to attack, it's a test. Don't think just because it's a friend there is no test. The purpose that he had when he was well and successful is the same purpose that he has to understand and face in illness or unhappiness. It makes no difference. Someone once asked Rav Yisrael Salanter, when he was old and ailing, how does he feel? He said, Baruch Hashem, a little bit worse. Yes, it's true, a little bit worse, but still, Baruch Hashem. Whatever one's state of health or success is in this world, business goes on as usual. He is being tested. This is an amazing statement. I can't get over it. Someone once asked Rav Yisrael Salanter, when he was sick and old, how are you feeling, Rabbi? And he said, Baruch Hashem, I feel a little bit worse. Amazing. If someone moves from a state of unhappiness and enters a period of well-being, a period of enjoyment, success, and fame, it makes no difference. He is still being tested, no less than before. Don't think that now, Baruch Hashem, I passed the hard times in my life, now it's easier. It can only get harder. He is still being tested, no less than before, and his responsibilities continue. How are you going to react to what is taking place now? If a soldier finds himself in the middle of a battle and he is able to overcome his enemy, the soldier cannot sit down and take a rest. He must consider what else is happening in back of him. Immediately, he has to turn around and confront a different enemy. That is what war is. It's on all sides. In life, there is no such thing as a vacuum. Vacuum means absence of everything. So in life, you cannot have absence of tests. Then it's not life. As it says in Pirkei Avot, don't believe in yourself until the day you die. Which means, don't think that, okay, I'm fine, now it's going to be good, now it's going to be safe, I'm not going to sin anymore. Even if you're not young anymore and your hormones are not spilling over, don't relax. You can still be tempted and tested in all areas of life as long as you are still breathing. There is no such thing as vacuum. There is no such thing as a person living in tranquility. in a situation in which no test is taking place. Whether one goes from poverty to wealth or from illness to health, he should not think that because those particular tests that he had until now stopped, therefore he is no longer being tested. He has to know that on every side, new tests are crowding in upon him constantly. This is comparable to the germs. Just because you're healthy doesn't mean that the virus is not around you. It says in Talmud Berachot that if we would see how many thousands of living beings are around us, we wouldn't be able to survive from fear. The Talmud says so clearly, if Hashem would allow human beings to see how many thousands and tens of thousands of living beings are around every human being every moment, we would not be able to survive from fear. And the Talmud was referring to spiritual beings. We can say these are tests that are crowding around us, and one is replacing the other constantly. And it's referring also to the spiritual beings like the demons. But on a physical level, we know that every person around him has millions and billions and trillions of living organisms that are trying to invade our body. Yes, and our body is constantly fighting the invaders, both on our skin and in our mouth and in our nostrils and in our eyes and in our ears. Every cavity has to fight the invaders. And if the body's immune system would stop for a moment the battle, it would succumb to bacteria and to viruses and would get sick and die. So the same way, spiritually, we have to be constantly on guard. Hishamar lecha ushmor nafshecha me'od. Be very careful and guard yourself physically and spiritually, because we are in a constant war. You win and a stronger enemy comes against you. You win and another stronger enemy comes against you. It says that very often the greatest fall comes right after the greatest win. As soon as a person passes an important test, you can expect that the next moment he's going to fail. Why? Because often people pass a test successfully and then they relax. Then they say, oh, Baruch Hashem, now I can relax until tomorrow or in a few days. No, Hashem says, you have to be ready for the next test immediately. Not only for the same test, but a harder test. And they're not. Not only they are not ready for the same test, they're going down. And they're saying, I can relax. And the harder tests hit them, and for sure they fail. Now, this is why the Mesilat Yesharim tells us that we are in the midst of Milchama Hazaka, a very strong battle. The imagery of a battle alone is already a strong description for life. And he says that it's not only a battle, but a very strong battle. Imagine you have a day off and you're sitting home resting and everything is quiet. The children have gone out to visit the neighbors and there is nothing but tranquility. You must know that you are in the midst of a battle. Not just a battle, but a strong battle. Where is the battle? There's no such thing as a battle that is not strong. No such thing as a comfortable battle. Any soldier will tell you that any time bullets are whistling, it is very uncomfortable. But a milchama hazaka, a strong battle, implies not only that bullets are whistling, they are coming like hail. And it's very difficult to dodge between the hail. The tests are constant, unending, even in a situation that seems like absolute tranquility. Every moment we're being tested, whether we will be drawn after materialism and fall asleep, if we will run away from the truth, or if we will battle against what materialism appears to tell us. If we see the truth that the physicality of this world is really a testimony of Hashem. Like it says, Hashamayim misapriv kevod kel. Everything in the world speaks of the glory of Hashem. If a person will use his mind the way Hashem intended, he will see that everything in the world speaks of the glory of Hashem. Now, in addition to all the tests that he mentioned so far, we have to mention that every interaction is a test. You're just sitting, people are passing by, and it's a constant test. Someone will look at you, how will you react? Someone will say something, how will you react? Someone will come searching for compassion, will you give it to him? Every person is a test. And that is why we say you have to live in a society. Al tifrosh min hatzibur. Don't separate yourself from community. Because living in a monastery, being alone in a closed room, limits your tests. And you didn't come to this world to relax. You came to be tested and to grow. And your neshama appreciates the opportunities for growth. However, we have to be aware of it. And when people do look at us, when people do speak with us, we are being tested. How will we react? Will we be pleasant? Will we be patient? Will we be compassionate? Now we move to page 121, chapter 1.29. Tests. The following is a fundamental statement of Mesilat Yesharim. For everything in the world, whether things that are happy or the opposite, they are all for the purpose of testing man. The Midrash, when explaining the verse, V'ha Elokim nisait Avraham, and Hashem tested Avraham, quotes the verse in Tehillim. You gave those who fear you a banner to raise themselves. For truth's sake, Selah. Which means, the word nisayon, which means test, is of the same root as the word nes, to raise up, to acquire perfection. The word nes is also a miracle, because a miracle is something that reveals God's glory. So too, a nisayon, a test, when we pass it successfully, reveals our greatness, raises us to a higher level in our own eyes. Now, there is a note at the end of chapter on page 180 from one of Rabbi Miller's lectures. We quote, "We begin with the fundamental teaching. Everything in the world was made for the purpose of testing a man." That's a statement at the beginning of Mesilat Yesharim and is intended to explain all the phenomena of this world. That everything in this world is a test. Now, the word test, however, has a broader meaning than what most people think, because nisayon comes from the word nes, which means a banner which you put on a tall pole to show to everyone what it represents. So when you pass a test, everyone sees what you stand for. And it is also related to the word naso, nisa, nun sin aleph, to lift up, to raise up, because a banner is lifted up. So the purpose of everything in the world is to test us, and through that to elevate us, to lift us up. So the purpose of everything in the world is to make us better, on a higher level, because everybody is born with a neshama that Hashem breathed into him. And if Hashem breathed a neshama into man, it means he has within him every form of wisdom and perfection. He has great potential. Potentially, a man possesses all forms of greatness, but that greatness can only be actualized, can only be brought into view through a test. But its potential and his job in this world is lehotziet min hakoach el hapoel, to bring forth his potential greatness and create from it actual greatness, to bring forth the qualities that Hashem breathed into him by thinking. We have to think, machshava, by speaking, dibur, and by action, ma'aseh, by doing. So we have three ways of interaction with this world. We have three ways of passing the test. What we think about everything, what we say about everything and to everything, and what we do. So by means of the phenomena in this world which afford us opportunity to speak and to think and to do, we can become partly what we really are potentially. And throughout the life, we hope to rise constantly to a higher level. How? By passing test after test after test after test. And we have to continue climbing until the last breath. Now, we go back to page 121. Tests exist to elevate man, to enable him to achieve his perfection. The intention of everything that exists in the world, objects and events, is only for this purpose. Everything is placed before a person at the right time and in the right place in order for him to utilize them toward his perfection. It's as if it's all a theater. Hashem puts players in their places and they have to act in front of us, and we have to react. It's not them. They are just puppets. Hashem is arranging everything. He is the composer of the play. Nobody can hurt us. Everything is designed by Hashem. And we, as an observer sitting in the audience, we have to react. It's not dangerous. No situation in life is dangerous. It only requires our proper reaction. Whatever happens is a test. If he's successful, it is a test. If, God forbid, he's a failure, it's still a test. Health is a test. Illness is a test. Whatever happens in the world, every little incident for him, and every little object in the world, even the chair he's sitting on, is a test. How will you sit on this chair? Will you sit on this chair to use it to listen to words of Torah? Or sit on this chair to use it to fall asleep during important lecture? Everything in the world is made for that purpose. And if a person utilizes the opportunity, then he will be a success. According to this, a man's wife is a test. A husband is a test. That's why it says, someone who passes the test of a difficult wife, he goes straight to Gan Eden. Because anything difficult shows that that is the reason you were brought into this world. And if you pass the test, the most difficult test, and usually it is the spouse that's your most difficult test, you go straight to Gan Eden. He can fail or he can succeed. A man's children are a test. His neighbors are a test. His father and mother are tests. His Rabbi is a test. His customers are a test. His employer or employees are a test. Everyone he meets on the street is a test. Summer is a test. Winter is a test. Every person in the world is a test for us. Whatever happens is a test. B'ezrat Hashem, we should pass all our tests and recognize them and rise higher and higher. Thank you for listening. Have a great day.